Hello, this is Igoro, host of the Igoro Show, and you are listening to the Steve and Crypto Show. So keep your ears open and your mouth shut.
Hey, welcome to the Steve and Crypto Show, presented by thestevestrout.com. I'm Steve.
I'm Crypto Zoo, and we are here on episode 84. Man, doesn't seem like we've been going quite that long, but we're almost to 100 already.
It's literally almost 2 years.
Yeah.
The end of August will be 2 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been a fun ride so far, and we have plenty of things planned in the future, lots of cool stuff we want to do, and you know, if you want to be a part of that and a part of all the like behind the scenes stuff, maybe see some cool extra shit that we don't normally share with you here on this show.
The extra shit.
Yeah. Then you can go. These days shit is, you know, used for a good term. It can be,
Especially on this show.
Yeah. So if you want to see some good shit, some extra shit, head over to our Patreon, which is Patreon/Steve Crypto. We actually may or may not have just made a little something that's going to be up there real soon.
A little something. Yeah, we could tell them. We did a video. It'll probably take me 10 years to edit it because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But we did talk about Horror Pack. It's a company that does a horror movie subscription service. And it's pretty cheap. It's like under $30 a month. And they send you 4 Blu-rays or DVDs you pick, and you get some good stuff. Like, we got some cool movies that most of them we hadn't seen, which we talked about in the video, which it'll come out hopefully this week. That's my plan.
Yeah, you'll be able to check it out soon.
But it's a really cool, it seems like it's a really good service, and I'm highly considering doing it myself, or subscribing to it myself. And if you guys are interested in it, or if you already know about it, or after you watch the video, if it sounds cool to you, you can get $5 off your first month's subscription by using Steve and Crypto, sorry. I'm gonna fuck it up on you guys already.
But it's all one word, Steve and Crypto.
Steve and Crypto.
Yep.
Use that and get you $5 off, or even do that, just do it without seeing the video and try it out. Try the service out, save $5.
Yeah.
If anything, you spend $25 and you get 4 movies, which usually you pay $25 for one, so.
I don't want to tell you exactly what we opened because, of course, you know, we want you guys to watch that video and check it out for yourselves. But I will say one of the DVDs has more than one movie in it. So, you know, we may have opened 4 different cases, but we got more than 4 movies in this stack. I can tell you that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely cool. There's actually a couple that I've heard about and I'm really excited to see. So, good job. Good job, Horror Pack. You guys go check it out.
Yep. Thanks to Horror Pack.
Find Horror Pack. Subscribe to Horror Pack. Follow them on social media. They always post really cool specials. Like if you do like a year subscription, they send you like bonus movies and film collections and stuff. It's pretty cool. I feel like it's definitely worth doing. And I'm considering it myself.
You know, what I also want to mention is that I'm very thankful for our friends at Scary Monsters Magazine because, you know, we may have used some contributions from our, you know, Patreon members and Buy Me a Coffee members to put some ads in the last previous magazines, you know, last few. I believe this is like the 3rd or 4th one now.
This is our second, actually.
Is it just the second one?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
we've advertised in some other things. Like we'll have an ad in Craig Sawyer's upcoming comic, The Forbidden Museum, which should be out pretty soon. I'm guessing probably close to Halloween. We'll have a little ad in back of that comic book. That's always cool.
We're spreading our wings, you know.
We're trying.
But what I wanted to say was I'm thankful for our friends at Scary Monsters because they actually upgraded the little ad for free.
Yeah, we usually get the poor folks ad. We usually get the small ad, but they hooked it up and like upgraded us, and it's like
It's a half a
freaking
page.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
So that means a lot to us, and we thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully, you guys do read Scary Monsters magazine. It's the Rondo award-winning magazine. It's a great book if you're into old classic monsters. Think like magazines like Famous Monsters of Filmland. It's kind of in the vein of that. It's a good counterpart to read if you're a Fangoria reader. Read them both. Fangoria gives you the more modern and more gorier side of horror, and this gives you the more classic stuff.
And they show you a lot of behind the scenes stuff, like pictures of like, let's say, for example, something that Ray Harryhausen would have made. They might show you pictures of them
Stuff
sculpting characters and things
I've
like
seen
that.
like old makeup art like Jack Pierce and stuff doing things. Lots of great pictures. It's good. It's just a good throwback magazine. They're all good. Fangoria is good. I'd say read Fangoria too. It's actually we both became
Ambassadors
or affiliates, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
So actually, you follow us on social media. I don't know if he has his info up yet, but you could go in my all my links or whatever the fuck it's called on my social media profile and see a link to order from Fangoria, and you get like 20% off or something. So go do that and use my link and get a subscription to that. Subscribe to Scary Monsters. Subscribe to Fangoria. Support all these horror publications. Of course, support us. Like you mentioned, patreon.com/SteveCrypto. You can do that.
You can read Scary Monsters, read Fangoria, and listen to Steven Crypto. You got all the horror news.
There's a lot of other good stuff.
Well, there's plenty of good stuff out there, but
including the guest that we're going to have in this episode, which we'll mention in a moment. And I did say check out my social media since I'm on that topic. I might as well tell you, follow CryptoZoo88. Follow the Steve Strout on Instagram and Twitter. We also have a Facebook group for the show, the Steven Crypto Show podcast Facebook group. Go there, join that, tell your friends, invite people to join the group. It's not just for the podcast. We're going to promote the shit out of our show there, but we're also want you guys to promote your stuff, promote your friends' stuff, throw up horror news that we might not know.
Yeah.
If you have something cool, like I said, promote your stuff. If we like it, maybe we'll invite you on the show because we love to promote creative folks.
Maybe there's some news out there about a movie coming out that we haven't even heard of yet, and you have the scoop on it. Tag us.
There hasn't been much of that lately, but
yeah,
I feel like we're about to get a whole bunch of new big shit coming soon. But yeah, tag us, like you said. Make sure we see it. Give us stuff to talk about because we like to talk. Like last week, it was just me and Crypto talking about some news and stuff. And those are always fun episodes. I enjoy it because we kind of get to get out of our comfort zone. I'm more comfortable when I have a guest and I'm like interviewing somebody or asking them questions and letting them kind of lead.
Do most of the talking.
Yeah. But when I got to talk, it's like, it gets a little awkward sometimes and get kind of rambly, but learning, like I said, it's almost 2 years. So
yeah, we're working on it and, we're having fun with it. We hope you guys have fun listening to it. Hope you're enjoying the ride. And, like I said earlier, we have a lot of things planned for the future for this show.
Lots. They get tired of hearing us say that, though.
Well, but we do. Lots of.
You guys like listening? I hope they do.
Yeah. Well, we really do hope you enjoy it, and anybody that's actually listening to this show, we thank you and we appreciate your support.
Absolutely. Most of the time we're joking and talking shit, but we do appreciate it, and we hope we somehow entertain you guys in some way. And what else we got? Social media stuff. We mentioned that.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to kind of rewind because I just briefly mentioned Buy Me a Coffee. So for anybody who doesn't know about that, visit buymeacoffee/Steve Crypto if you would like to contribute to the show and help us grow. There's your rhyme for this episode. It
Show
basically
and grow on 84.
it's basically a tipping service, and it just helps to improve everything here, everything that is
It's like we're
the
strippers.
Steve and Crypto Show.
And they throw us dollar bills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except less gross. A lot less gross. Less us stripping. And that's disgusting.
Yeah.
They would probably throw us money to.
So throw us more money and we will not strip.
There you go. That would probably work. Now, like our Buy Me Coffee's just going to get hit after hit now.
There we go.
It's like, please don't take your shit off. Here's $5.
Yeah. You're like, I'm thinking about it. Send me a 20.
Yep. Yeah, all the proceeds from Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon and everything go back into the show. Like we mentioned, we advertise in some of our favorite publications and, in indie comic creators' books that help support and get their comic made. And we get our name out too. We do stuff like that with it. We upgrade gear every once in a while when we can. That's an important part, but because that shit's expensive and we're poor.
Speaking of getting our name out there a little bit more, if you would like to help with that, you can also visit our Etsy shop. Yes. Because you know that if you're walking around sporting a Steve and Crypto Show t-shirt, somebody's going to ask you, what's that?
Or
why, you're like, why I have so much to show you?
Or why are you wearing that? Like, yeah. Either way, they'll notice it.
Either way, it's a conversation piece. And we thank you for your contribution. We thank you for picking up a shirt if you have already. But if not, you can go to Etsy/shop/Steve and Crypto merch. We have 2 different t-shirt designs on there. We have magnets you can get. They look great on your fridge. We have mugs that are just awesome. And I've said it and I'm going to say it again. They make every drink taste even better.
Yep. Yep, that's all I got.
Yeah. Yep. And Steve has trucker hats. A few of those
still
left.
Got a few hats left.
If you want to contact him,
just got a shitload of the 2 different designs, Steve and Crypto pins that actually match the shirts. So
yeah,
you got to get a shirt and then you got to get a pin to match and put on your hat. The pins and the hats are directly through me. I told you where to find me on social media. You can hit me up there and get a hold of them. And sometimes we give away stuff. So later in the episode we'll do our trivia question after we chat with our guest, and all you got to do is message one of us with the answer, and we'll send you some stickers and stuff and put you on a list of names that are going to go into a drawing once we have compiled a list of more than one person.
And I'm going to say it, before this episode, we really only had the intention of sending some stickers your way. If you send us the correct answer to the trivia, you get a little sticker pack of some sort. Now, we'll probably throw in a pin or 2 as well.
Maybe.
We just might.
We'll see.
So there's a little incentive.
We'll see if people are paying attention.
Let's see if you're sweetening the deal for yous.
No, we want to give it just a more reason to interact, and we like sending you guys stuff, so why not? So yeah, Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, social media, and the merch stuff. That's about our own self-promotion that you're going to get from us.
I think that covers it.
We might mention it later, but right now we have, we're going to get right to our guest. We have a guest that I'm excited to talk about. And unfortunately, Crypto missed the interview. He had a family emergency that kind of sad stuff. I don't know if he's okay with me mentioning. But,
I mean, I'll mention it myself. Yeah. I think I mentioned a while back that we took in a dog, a senior dog. It was actually the first dog I've ever had, and her name was Allie. And this is Monday afternoon that we're recording this. She just passed away yesterday morning, and we're pretty much just chalking it up to old age. But she, we did our part to make sure that she lived a good end of her life. So
you guys gave her a good last 6 months or so.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think she took a liking to me, and I like taking her out for walks, and she might have been a little annoying in the morning sometimes when you're trying to be quiet in the house, but she's like, I'm hungry. I've been waiting, for like 12 hours,
I'm
dude.
An old
like,
lady. I get up at 3:30 in the morning.
She's like, I'd get this shit myself if I could, but feed me, dude.
But yeah, it's a it's a bummer, and sadly you couldn't be there for this interview. But family first.
Yeah.
The interview. Sorry to bring down the mood.
Your dog died. Anyway.
We're like, so buy our stuff, send us money. Crypto's dog died. Now let's talk to our guest.
Yeah.
This is kind of a weird, awkward, but no. Our guest is a really exciting guest. They're all exciting. Who am I kidding? But
remember I think I probably said it a long time ago, but remember the early South Park episodes? They do the little intro of Matt and Trey. They're like, this one is our favorite episode. We should just start doing that for all the podcasts. Like, this is our favorite episode of the podcast we've ever done.
Favorite since the last one.
Yeah.
They're all our favorite.
Yep.
It's like trying
That's why I say that, because we love them all.
Which child is your favorite? Like, no. They're all.
Yeah.
All are. Some of the older ones kind of suck, but
but the guests on them made them a little better,
Yeah.
And, I mean, we've had quite a variety of people. We hope that anybody listening has enjoyed who we've had on, and if you guys have any suggestions, even of just people you'd like us to talk to. I mean, some
realistically,
of them will probably respond and be like, "Shit, me too." Like, yeah, we want to talk to Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
Putting it out there. Yeah, we want to talk to Rob Zombie. See, I'm putting it out there again.
Yep.
But if there's anyone, as Steve just said, that's kind of realistic, or shit, you might even have a connection, to help make that happen. Yeah, we'd love to talk to them and maybe see what they got going on, see what they've been working with, and yeah, I'm sure anybody that's listening to this show and has someone in mind, they're thinking that they'd be fitting for our show.
I think between the 4 people listening, they could come up with at least 2 potential guests.
What do you think, guys? Can you do it?
Do it. You have homework now. There's your homework. But anyways, let's intro this week's guest. We have, how do I introduce him? He's a member of the Rondo Award Monster Kid Hall of Fame. His podcast, Monster Kid Radio, has won the Rondo Award for Best Podcast, and deservedly so. He's one of the shows I listen to that kind of inspire what I try to do here. And let's get right to it. Meet Derek M. Koch. He is, like I said, he's a podcaster, he's a writer, he's an aspiring filmmaker, and all kinds of stuff. And most of all, he's a big Monster Kid and horror fan. So meet him and check out his show after you listen to the interview.
I'm Mr. Lobo of Cinema Insomnia, and you're listening to the Steve and Crypto Show. Or are you?
Hello, we are on the Steve and Crypto Show with a special guest, one of my favorite podcasters, one of these shows that kind of, we kind of are inspired a bit by some of what he does on his show. We have Derek M. Koch. He is a podcaster. He's an award-winning podcaster, I must say, for his show, Monster Kid Radio. He won other awards. He's, Monster Bash gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award a while back. Mm-hmm. He's also in the Rondo Monster Kid Hall of Fame now, which was a couple years back. Let's talk about that. How that's crazy, man. It's like I wouldn't have words.
I'd been aware of the Rondo Awards for a long time, right. Even back before I did Monster Kid Radio with my other podcasts, and to be inducted into the Monster Kid Hall of Fame, super just humbling, and just an honor that, despite the fact that they still haven't sent me my plaque, an honor that that I will take with me and take pride in for a very long time. It's pretty special. So, yeah.
I could imagine. Like we were nominated in the podcast category this year for the first time, and I was like,
right on, congratulations, man.
I was at a loss. Like I was almost. I was a little choked up just seeing our name on the list. So I couldn't imagine being put in the Hall of Fame. So that's something, man. That's
Yeah.
and you earn it. I mean, you're what, over 500 episodes in on your show, and you've been working. You're working for the genre.
Yeah, let's see, I just put out episode 579 of Monster Kid Radio this past week. I don't know when this is going to air, but yeah, so we've been doing it for quite a while. Before that, over 200 episodes of Mail Order Zombie, a number of episodes of 1951 Downplay. So I've been doing this for a while, and it still hasn't gotten boring. I still have a good time doing it. I still enjoy growing the show and everything else.
So when did you start podcasting? You're like a OG podcaster.
Well, so Mail Order Zombie was the very first podcast that I started. When did I launch that? I always have to double check. January of 2008 was the very first episode of Mail Order Zombie. And I thought it was going to be, it's hour plus long show, and it ended up being like 20 minutes long. I just started that, and it was a weekly show at the time. Eventually it became an every other week show before we ended up retiring the show altogether. But yeah, we started back in 2008, and I can't imagine not podcasting. It's such a fulfilling thing. And I said this when I was given the FORI, the Life Achievement Award at Monster Bash, that I find podcasting to be like one of the most creative, fulfilling things that I've ever done. And I do a lot of things, I write, I do video and things like that, but podcasting is just special, and I love it.
Absolutely. It's definitely, for me, it's one of them things that being I was always a really shy and like reclusive person.
Okay.
And this kind of brought me out of that shell. And it's allowed me, because I had done stuff before podcasting. Like I blogged and interviewed a lot of people, phone calls and emails and stuff. So I kind of had that connection with media. And the reason I started was because I got tired of typing stuff up. And I was like, let's podcast and get it all on audio. It's a lot easier. But
nice.
I was terrified when I started. And like you said, you thought, at first it was like, we're going to have an hour episode, and you got like 20 minutes out. It was, you feel like you have all this, I have all these notes and this and that. And then at first you don't know how to pace yourself. So you just kind of like breeze through it. And there's your 20-minute, hour and a half episode you had planned. And it's like, whoops. So you learn a lot in the early days, but now you're a seasoned, award-winning veteran. So that's that work, man. So Monster Kid Radio, what led you to starting this show?
So in my life, I've always been kind of a guy that when I find something that I enjoy, media wise in particular, I want to be part of it. I want to create it. I want to be part of that machine, which is what led to me wanting to be a filmmaker, which has led to me being a writer. For a very brief time, thought I was going to be a rapper.
Okay.
But I just fell in love with listening to audio shows. I started listening to Dead Pit, which was a weekly internet radio show. They refused to call themselves a podcast at first. I think they've gotten over that over the years. But I was listening to the Dead Pit with Uncle Bill and the Creepy Kentuckian every week. That was my Friday night. That's how I kind of started my weekend. I'd get off work, come home, listen to Dead Pit. And that kind of led me into listening to other shows, Night of the Living podcast in particular, and a handful of others. And I just fell in love with the medium. And I thought, I want to make a horror movie podcast too, because I like horror movies.
Yep.
And I looked at the landscape of what was out there, and there were a lot of horror movie podcasts, a lot. Oh. And I didn't want to just make another horror podcast because, you get lost in the shuffle. There's so much noise out there. How was I going to get, noticed? So I decided to try to narrow down my focus, and zombie movies was something that I really loved at the time. I grew up, like I said, I wanted to be a filmmaker when I grew up, and I loved special makeup effects and Tom Savini in particular, and George Romero in particular. And of course, those guys are zombie guys. I mean, they did other things too, but I mean, they're zombie guys, right? So I decided to do a zombie movie podcast. And at the time, there were 2 other zombie movie podcasts out there. So I didn't think I'd be lost in the shuffle. And mail order zombie, it became mail order because at the time Netflix was strictly mail order, DVD and Blu-ray rental, probably just DVD rental at the time. In a lot of the independent movies you couldn't get in local stores, you had to order them somewhere online. So mail order zombie is going to be a zombie movies you have to get through the mail. It obviously grew and expanded over the years, but that's kind of how I got started. I asked some friends to join me, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't really like horror movies the way you do, Derek." So it was just me.
Yeah.
I went through, and every episode was talking about 2 or 3 different zombie movies. I'd give them ratings. I'd rank them between 1 to 5 headshots. And like I said, it just grew over the years to involve some other contributors, made some of my best friends through the podcast that I'm still friends with to this day. And yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
How how hard was it for you to like you said, none of your friends wanted to jump in and join you? How tricky was it to sit there and have a conversation by yourself for an hour? How do you
Oh boy.
How do you get through that? Do you envision that the microphone is a friend you're having a conversation with, or?
I wrote my entire thing. It was a script from start to finish. The introduction, or what I called the ins and outs, my intro and my outro, which were the last pieces I recorded. The reviews themselves, it was all handwritten. And I thought, I'll just get on here, I'll read these, kind of do them as like a performance almost if need be. And little did I know that I could read a page of text in a very short period of time. I don't know if it's because my handwriting was too big or the papers were too small, but yeah, it just became a really short kind of breeze through the episode. But it wasn't very difficult. I was very nervous at the very beginning when I started incorporating other people because I was worried about my technology not living up to the standards that I had for myself regarding how it would sound. And if you listen to old episodes of Mail Order Zombie, whenever I'd have somebody come on the show as a guest, it was never anybody local. Man, some of them are really rough. They were holding a microphone next to a speakerphone because I was interviewing somebody who didn't know how to work Skype, or I didn't know how to make something record right. So that was more nerve-wracking than anything else. Sitting down and just talking to the microphone, that wasn't a problem for some reason.
Right. So that I mean, you're still learning new tricks every day.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah. I mean, if we stop learning, people introduce me as like this award-winning whatever, and I appreciate that, and I'm flattered and I'm honored. But I'm not stopping. I'm constantly learning. I'm still fiddling with technology and listening to podcasts outside of my genre, even just to learn more and try to pick up more tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
And if anybody ever asks me for assistance, I'm always like, "Hey, this is what I did when I got started." Huge. I'd like to do this real quick if you don't mind. I want to give a shout out to 3 podcasters in particular who really were so generous with their time and their knowledge when I got started, because I had reached out to a handful. Freddie from Night of the Living podcast, which is still going today. Andy from Destroy the Brain. I don't think that podcast is still around anymore. You might be able to find archives of it. And F13 from Cinema Diabolica. They were so generous and patient with me as I asked questions about how to get started and how to do things. And anytime I get a chance to talk about my start as a podcaster, I really want to just give those 3 guys all the props, because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if not for those 3 virtually holding my hand at one point or another getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I like to do. People talk about it. I tell them, I draw from these shows like, Monster Kid Radio. You guys, you have your segments and stuff, which I kind of draw from and try to incorporate some of those ideas into our show. And other podcasters, Mick Garris, he's one of my favorite interviewers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I learn from him every week when I listen to him. So it's always learning, and I think that is the biggest thing that keeps me going is learning, because I love to learn.
Yeah.
And I'm learning about cool stuff, and stuff I enjoy. So it stays fun. That's what keeps it alive. That being said, what's a little bit of, you mentioned being a writer, you wanted to be a filmmaker. Tell a little bit about your personal background.
Oh boy. I'm not quite sure exactly where the desire to be a storyteller or a writer came from, but I wanted to be a writer before I wanted to be a filmmaker. I was writing silly little short stories in grade school about people eating too much pizza and the pizza coming to life and eating them instead. I mean, it's real silly things, you know. And I read a lot of fantasy. I was a nerd. I still am. So I read a lot of fantasy stuff growing up, and I always wanted to write fantasy fiction and things like that. Even dabbled with wanting to write comic books, and came so close to getting something published with an indie publisher before they had to close up shop before my story actually came out. But I always wanted to write. And then film, I stumbled across an old school film camera that I believe my father owned that was not being used. And I thought it'd be cool if I can make maybe little stop motion movies with my G.I. Joe figures. And I wrote this like epic series, never shot an inch of film, but I wrote this huge thing in grade school with my G.I. Joe figures, you know, doing battle. And that was a lot of fun. I actually didn't get into actually making movies and wanting to do video stuff though until my 9th grade year of junior high, when I met a guy by the name of Jared, who became my best friend for a long time. He had always wanted to make movies growing up, and he kind of infected me with the bug. And it became real easy at that point to just pick up a video camera, look at my friends for the weekend and say, hey, you want to make a movie? And we just shoot whatever we could in our backyard or in my basement or at the mall or wherever. Eventually getting in trouble with all kinds of local authority, whether it's mall security or the police or campus security at the community college. Cheyenne, Wyoming was the capital of Wyoming. So Capitol Police, when we got caught in the parking garage underneath the state capitol shooting something with a big butcher knife. Never got busted by highway patrol, but city police numerous times were called on us because we would never let anybody know what we were doing. We would just show up somewhere and shoot something. We were shooting a music video for a song by it wasn't us. It was a Weird Al Yankovic song. It was for a community college class project. And it was the Weird Al song, Nature Trail to Hell, about a slasher film. And my little brother, rest in peace, was in it. And the song is about a homicidal maniac who finds a Cub Scout troop and chops up 2 or 3 in every scene, to paraphrase the song. And my little brother was one of the scouts, and we tied him to a tree and covered him with fake blood. And he would not stop laughing until he finally got it and realized, okay, I can't laugh. I'm a dead Cub Scout or whatever. And that's when the cops showed up. Because somebody had called the cops saying that there are these people beating up kids in the park. So yeah, my brother playing dead when the cops were reading us a riot act about how we shouldn't be there, or at least we need to let people know what we're doing and that sort of thing. But yeah, the bug was there, and it kind of grew. Ended up going to film school for a couple of years. Haven't really made film in a long time, kind of drifted away from that. Podcasting took over, prose and narrative writing took over, although I am starting to get back to it. And we actually started production on a documentary a couple of weeks ago with me and an old friend of mine that I met at film school and another creative partner of mine. So fingers and tentacles crossed, it actually comes to fruition and it works out, because it was really exciting to turn on the cameras and the lights and shoot something.
That's awesome. Any mention of what the documentary might be about yet, or are you going to hold out until?
I've talked a little bit about this on I think have I talked about it on the podcast or maybe the stream. It sounds self-serving when I say it, but it's about us. And it was my buddy Matt's idea. Matt and I were super tight in film school at MSU in Montana, Bozeman, Montana. And neither one of us graduated. We both kind of drifted away from the film school and what we were there for, and from each other. He ended up working for a local news station and started getting better and better jobs at bigger and bigger news stations, and left Montana before we could finish a feature film that we were working on. And I've told him this, and we'll talk about this in the documentary. I was very resentful, and I allowed it to really impact my relationship with him. He also had started a family, has 5 kids now, happily married. I did not have kids. I have been through a divorce recently. My life took a very different path. But during the pandemic, there was a local movie theater in the Portland area that I go to a lot, the Joy Cinema. And they were trying to figure out a way to stay relevant and stay afloat because movies weren't happening, pandemic, everything was shut down. And they were one of the first theaters in the area anyway to just start selling popcorn to try to make a buck, and to stay alive. And Matt, working for the local news station, needed a news story that day, showed up at the Joy Cinema, filmed something there to put on the local news that night, to pick up popcorn, that sort of thing. I then went to the Joy Cinema to pick up popcorn for myself and missed him by about 20 minutes. Even though Matt and I weren't really connected anymore, I knew that he lived here in town, and I knew he worked at the news station. And the guy who ran the Joy Cinema, his name's Jeff Punk Rock Martin, was very excited because the news was just there to cover him. He was super excited. Derek, you just missed him. It was great. Like, oh yeah, who was it? Was it a redhead guy? Red-haired guy? Because Matt's red hair. And he said, yeah. It's like, oh, I bet I know that guy. Was his name Matt? Yeah, it was Matt. Oh, that's great. Cool. So when I got home, I hopped on Facebook and sent him a friend request and sent him a message and thanked him for covering my favorite theater and helping him stay alive during the pandemic. And just, we kind of reconnected at that point. And we've really reignited and nurtured our relationship. And I mean, I can truly say he's one of my best friends. And he had this idea about doing a documentary about us being wannabe filmmakers and what happened to us along the way. One of his favorite documentaries and his wife's favorite documentaries is the movie American Movie. Are you familiar with it?
I believe so.
He took some inspiration from that, just kind of what really happens to people who don't necessarily hit what they thought their dream was and where they are now. And it's kind of an introspective thing. And as Matt put it the other day when I was talking to him, some people, when they have their midlife crisis, they find a girlfriend half their age and buy a sports car. He just wants to make a documentary.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it's about. And it's, like I said, it might sound a little self-serving, but it's been really interesting to take a step back and look at what successes I did have, despite not necessarily fulfilling the original dream. And it's been interesting.
It's kind of a nice full circle kind of story.
Yeah.
How it started and you guys went your separate ways and circled back, and now you guys started at film school. Now you guys are rejoining over making a movie, which is, I mean,
and we did make a short film. We did make a short zombie movie back in the day. And he was actually just over here at my place last weekend or so. And my buddy Mike, who still lives in Montana, who was also kind of like the third part of our little production company. We called ourselves Dead End Pictures. And he was the third part of that. He did a lot of the camera work. He was a producer, and he was from the area. So he knew people and where to go and that sort of thing. And he had actually flown up for 4th of July weekend. And so the three of us sat down and watched our little zombie movie called Cash Only, and recorded our reaction to it. And it was interesting to get the three of us in the same room to watch this movie that we had made back in 1999 together for the first time as a group. It was interesting and it was fun, and just kind of looking back on that and seeing where we are now. And that's kind of what we're looking at with the documentary, getting that kind of what happened, and it's okay that we didn't really succeed where we thought we were going to, and we can still succeed. And it was fun. It's neat.
I feel like a story like this, if people see it, it'll kind of open the door to a lot of other people reconnecting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And, not having regrets, that's a big part of the thing too with Matt and I, is that we have a lot of regrets. Personally, yes. But also, I really did think I was going to be a filmmaker when I grew up. I don't know if I thought I was going to be like this big Steven Spielberg type or even George Romero type, but I really did think that my day job would be making movies, and it didn't happen.
Right.
But that's okay. I did okay for myself, and I ain't done. Maybe someday I will get back to that. Maybe I will. I am going to get back to that. So who knows?
You tried. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have some kind of a dream and they just, I can think I can never do it. You know what I mean? And just, at least you tried.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that is better than a lot of people do. Absolutely. Are any of the old films floating around out there anywhere that people could see?
So we had the one short movie that we had made. Now, of course, I did stuff when I was growing up in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and all that stuff exists on various videotapes in various storage units and scanned into various hard drives that I need to go through and check and really hope it's all there. But that was all stuff done for community college and all that. So it's all filled with copyrighted music. Didn't have anybody sign releases. I can't really properly release anything. It's all student work. Some of it still is out there. I don't have anything publicly available now. Cash Only, which was the zombie movie that the three of us made, the Dead End Pictures movie. It is on YouTube, but it's unlisted. We are thinking about, and I don't know. I'm still not sure I'm going to do this, but because I don't want to do a George Lucas, but I know so much more now. To go back what we were saying earlier about constantly learning and growing and all that, I know so much more now about audio and sound. I mean, I've done Foley work for independent films and things like that. I know how to make things sound better, and the sound on Cash Only is not the best. It's shot on VHS, so a lot of it has that in the background. I know how to take that out. I know how to make it all sound better. I have software, I have filters, I have things where I can actually make the audio, the dialogue sound better by using AI technology and things like that. So I can go in and do that. I've considered it, and it's something that we are struggling with. Do we want to go back and revisit something we did 20 years ago? Or do we want to look forward? I don't know. So there may be a time when Cash Only is available online. I have shown it on my stream a couple of times over the years. So who knows? Fingers and tentacles crossed, something will happen with it at some point.
That seems like something that could be fun. Like once you guys finish a documentary, if you release it on physical media, maybe have like a special feature, like the movie in there that people could watch and see, like, this is where these guys started. And
yeah, definitely. And maybe I'm thinking way too far ahead, and I'm maybe thinking way too big, and how dare I think this big, but I want to finish the documentary and I want to have the premiere at the Joy Cinema. I'm friends with Jeff Punk Rock Martin. It's kind of what brought Matt and I back together. And it's a special theater for me because, when they were doing second run movies and bringing in older stuff, especially the horror movies on Weird Wednesday, I'd go and introduce movies. I was part of that show. So I'd like to show it there. And maybe we can show Cash Only on the big screen there. Who knows? That's so far down the line, though.
Right. Right. So you have an idea, though, possibly when the documentary could be done?
I have no idea. Yeah. We were going to shoot some things last night, actually, but Matt wasn't able to. Yeah, because of Conan. We went to go see Conan the Barbarian.
It's Conan's fault. Yeah.
Well, actually, no, Conan was part of it. It's the beach's fault. And a stupid bee got in the way. So I went to Conan last night at the Hollywood Theater, 35 millimeter, original Conan, loved it. And I told Matt about it, and he was going to come join as well. And I was going to record some stuff for an episode of Monster Kid Radio. And one thing that Matt wanted to do was incorporate footage of what we're doing now with our lives into the documentary. So shots of him at work at the news station, shots of Mike doing what he does. He's a karaoke DJ right now. And shots of me producing Monster Kid Radio, including recording content for the podcast at Conan the Barbarian, which was the original plan. But I mentioned Matt's got a family. He's got 5 kids. One of them got stung by a bee the other day, and they discovered that, hey, that daughter is allergic to bee stings. So it became a whole thing, and their plans to go to the beach that day were completely derailed. Matt's a good dad. Matt wants to make sure the kids get that chance to go to the beach because they were all looking forward to it. So they went to the beach today and knew that going to a movie that would have kept them out till midnight last night would have made a really rough start this morning. So I blame the bee.
Yeah.
Why we didn't shoot anything last night. But there's plenty more of opportunities. Matt and I get together at least every other week in person for coffee, and we talk all the time online. So production now is officially started. So yeah, now the wheel, the big part was getting started. Now that it's started, it's time to make it happen. I'd like to see it happen. I don't know, maybe sometime next year. I'd like to have it done.
Right. I'm sure you'll keep everybody updated on
yeah
Radio and everything on your streams.
Sure. Oh yeah. With everything else going on, I think it's important that we do this. If nothing else, it'll be important for Matt and I to finish it. If anybody else enjoys it, bonus. But I think Matt and I need to do this for us.
Right. So since I brought Monster Kid Radio back up, it's one of the shows that I started taking my podcast every morning at work. I'm up bright and early. I manage a restaurant, so I'm there a couple hours before we open to prep things, to get things ready. So I usually have a podcast or audiobook going.
Okay.
And Monster Kid Radio is one of the shows I listen to. So I kind of bounce around episodes. I'm not listen to every week episode. I kind of bounce around. I'll scroll through and say, hey, this one sounds interesting. Let's listen to that.
Sure.
I haven't gone all the way back to the beginning. Like I said, I've been dabbling for the last couple of years. But there's things that's always have stood out to me is like the beta capsule review and the Famous Monsters recap. Were those always a part of the show, or were those something you incorporated over time? And where'd you get the idea for these?
So you mentioned a couple of different segments. The Beta Capsule Review is produced by Mark Matsky, who's also been a podcaster himself and has been involved in some independent productions with Small Town Monsters. And he's a great guy. And he's a huge kaiju fan. He used to do a kaiju podcast with his son, and you can see him at G-Fest all the time. In fact, he's going to be going to G-Fest this year and has agreed to come onto the show to do a recap of the event, down the line. But he reached out to me and he's like, I know you like Ultraman, but I know you're busy with everything else, and I'd like to do something with Ultraman because he's one of these guys who just loves producing content. So he asked if he could do it. I'm like, yeah, bring it on. Let's do it. And he's been consistently knocking it out of the park. So it was all his idea to do that. Kenny, who does the Famous Monsters of Filmland segment, again, that was something else that he wanted to contribute to the show. Kenny and I are great friends. He's a great guy, and he really knows how to put together a good segment and knows his stuff. And he approached me about doing that as well. I've had other segments on the show in the past. Professor Frenzy used to do a horror comic recap. And again, all those things were things that were brought to me by them. I didn't reach out to them. I'm open. If people want to do a segment on the show, let's talk. And if we can make it work, if you can do it and it's good, let's do it. So, those were all segments that came to me. I'm so glad they did, because the Beta Capsule Review, I get to listen to it before everybody else because I'm putting the show together.
Right.
And I love it. And the same with Kenny. I get to hear it before everybody else. And Kenny has gone from just recording audio to doing a full production with music and sound effects and different voices and all that. And that's fantastic. I love it.
It's like the Ultraman thing. I personally had never been into Ultraman, not because I didn't like it, just because I'd never been introduced to it much. Mm-hmm. And his segments kind of got me digging in and finding what I can online and checking it out. So it's definitely serving a purpose.
I love it. I want to do more kaiju stuff on the show. I was really influenced by the Kaiju Cast, which has long been closed at this point. Kaiju is probably, of like all the areas of classic monsters and monsterdom, was my weak spot. I had not really watched a lot of the Godzilla movies at all. Right. Even into starting Monster Kid Radio, I'd never really sat down to watch one. It wasn't until there was a local screening of King Kong versus Godzilla, the original, and the Kaiju Cast was hosting it. It was at the Hollywood Theater, and it just blew me away, and I fell in love. And I've gone through, like, right after that, for a few weeks, I was just mainlining Godzilla movie after Godzilla movie after Godzilla movie. And then the same thing with the Gamera movies and everything else. So I'm a huge kaiju fan now, and I fell into fell into just deep love with the Ultraman stuff. Just so cool. And I'm so glad Mark's bringing the fire on that, because it just makes the show better when you've got passionate creators wanting to be part of what you do.
And it's pretty cool that these guys have enough appreciation, respect toward your show that they wanted to contribute to it. You know, that's pretty cool. So speaking of kaiju stuff, how do you feel about the current line of Godzilla and Kong movies?
I mean, they're fun. They're okay. I will go back and watch the original Godzilla stuff if I ever want a Godzilla fix. I did see Kong versus Godzilla in the theater, and it was the first movie that I saw after the pandemic. Everything shut down. There was nothing showing in the theater, so to kind of peel that band-aid and rip that band-aid off, going to the theaters after the pandemic and seeing Kong versus Godzilla, it was like a theme park thrill ride, and it was fun, and the spectacle was great, and the music's fun, and it looks cool, and I'm glad there's more Godzilla in pop culture. It's not where I prefer to go when I watch my kaiju stuff, but I liked it okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
I pretty, basically it's the same. They're big, they're exciting, but I am hoping it does open the door. These young kids watch the new Godzilla movie, Godzilla and Kong, and then they find out that there's this long history back into the 50s. So it's like, I hope it opens that door for people. Kind of look at like now, like how crazy people are going for like Stranger Things and all the music. Like, Kate Bush is making millions right now off a song she did 30 years ago.
Right.
Metallica. Kids are just finding Metallica. Like, really? Metallica's been part of life for as long as I can remember.
I just saw the new Thor movie the other day, and Guns N' Roses is featured in that film.
Yeah.
There's even a character in there who's like, my new name is Axel. That's my name now.
Yeah.
And there's a Guns N' Roses poster on the wall, and the music's in there. So, I don't know. Is
few songs. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's awesome. So,
what did you think overall of that movie?
Thor 4?
Yeah.
I didn't like it as much as Thor Ragnarok. And I thought it was fun, a little inconsistent in tone. And the more I think about it, and I don't like to be overly negative on Monster Kid Radio, so thank you for giving me the opportunity to be negative here. No,
that's fine. Oh my God. I go through, not to cut you off, but it's known that I am not a fan of Zack Snyder's work. And I've gone on many rants on the show about that.
Well, and I used to do that on Mail Order Zombie too back in the day. But anyway, Thor. The more time that I have away from it, it's not been very long, but the more I think about it, the more disappointed I am in the film. And I'm going to get real deadly serious here as to why. I know it's a movie, and it's fun, and it's entertaining, and it's not really meant to do anything other than it's an MCU film. It's not this deep, moving, emotional piece or whatever. But I feel like, huge spoilers here, by the way. I'm about to spoil something. You know what? There's a character that has cancer in the movie, stage 4 cancer, which is, as they say, the final. How many stages are there? Well, there's only 4. So, and she's got some dark circles under her eyes, and she has a trouble standing up every once in a while. That's about it. I saw it with my girlfriend, who is a 3-time cancer survivor. And as she said on her Facebook post, has had the "you are going to die" conversation. She has fought cancer and won against incredible odds. And I'm glad she did, because now I get to say she's my girlfriend. I get to know her now, but she almost lost her life to it. And she had a real problem with how the cancer was portrayed in Thor, that it's not nearly as glamorous as it appeared in the film. There's a lot of throwing up. There's a lot less hair. And she was quite disappointed and offended almost, and hurt. And I don't know if I would have had the same experience if not for having her in my life, but I could see where she's coming from, and just felt that the cancer was used as kind of like a plot point as opposed to, I don't know, any other thing it could have been in the movie. It felt a little exploitive. Like, oh, you got cancer. Oh, well, bummer. It's not just that. There's so much involved with fighting cancer or succumbing to cancer. And she really had a problem with that. And I am seeing it from her point of view, and I see exactly where she's coming from. And I agree with her. I think it was kind of cheap almost.
Yeah.
And I kind of expect better from the filmmaker, and I almost expect better from the studio.
See, I feel I see that 100%. They could have totally went a different angle. Because you can't really make that a plot point without, like you said, cheapening it. They cheapened it, and I feel like
I know that's the comics. I know that's what happens in the comics. I know it's true to the comics, but in the comics, that character is not drawn to have a full head of hair and not drawn to look like she just really needs a long nap before she's okay.
Yeah. I feel like overall the movie was, it was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I felt like it was made for the current viewers with, like this short attention span, TikTok loving, it was so all over the place, and it was just like one joke after another. I felt like I was watching cartoons.
Yeah. I actually just read a review this morning calling it the Hanna-Barbera of MCU films. It's very much like that.
Yeah. And the only, they had that theme, the cancer thing. And then they had the Christian Bale character, which I think could have been an amazing character if it wasn't plopped in the middle of my cartoon, and but yeah, I mean, I guess it's there now, so it is what it is, and that's how I'll look at it.
It's part of the overall MCU story, and I think I'm more excited about something we saw in one of the end credit scenes than anything else in the film. And I don't know if what that says about the film or me, but I'm more excited about the introduction of a new character coming into the MCU. I hope they do him right, but I really like that character, and I have for a long time, and I've wanted to see him on the big screen for a very long time. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see. We'll wait and see. So the show, before we get ready to wrap up here, where can people follow the website, best places to listen, and all the important stuff? The stream too. Mention the stream.
So during the pandemic, there was supposed to be, and I think they still did it, but in much more limited numbers. There was supposed to be a Fathom Events screening of, was it King Kong? I think it was a King Kong screening. But the pandemic hit and people didn't want to go and that sort of thing. So I thought, well, I'll just host a stream. I'll host a day of stop motion animation. I'll show movies. Some I probably shouldn't show because I, copyright and public domain and all that, So I launched a stream and on Twitch and started showing monster movies. Eventually I got to where I realized, you know what? I probably shouldn't be showing King Kong because I don't have permission to show that. But there are so many amazing public domain monster movies out there that I just started doing that once a week on Saturday over on Twitch. Just look at Monster Kid Radio over there. It starts at 11 a.m. Pacific with a pre-show that Scott Morris from the Disney Indiana podcast. He's somebody that I met through Mail Order Zombie, one of my lifelong friends because of that show. He contributed to that show as my news guy, and he wanted to contribute to the stream. So now he does an hour-long pre-show package of ads or interviews or commercials or cartoons or whatever relevant to whatever the theme of the day is. And then around noon Pacific, the movies kick off. And we just did like an 80s week where we did a bunch of 80s horror movies that had inexplicably fallen into the public domain for some reason. We try to do themes, like we did a John Agar Day a little bit ago. We've done a Lugosi Day. We've done Karloff. this upcoming week, and again, I don't know when this is going out, but the next big day is going to be a big vampire day. So of course we're going to show Nosferatu because it's such a classic, and I can show it legally free. But that usually runs like 6 to 8 hours, and lately I've been putting it on a loop afterwards. So if you don't make it for part of the day, just hang out because it's just going to loop for a few days afterwards. And then on Tuesday we started doing more sci-fi type stuff. Lately, though, we went back to doing cliffhanger serials. So we'll pick a serial, a classic serial from like the 30s, 40s, or 50s, and show half of it, like the first 7 chapters, and then take a break and then show them the first 7 chapters of a different serial. And then the next week we'll do the final half of each. And that's what we do on Tuesdays on the stream. That starts around 3:30 p.m. Pacific. It's free to watch. Obviously, follow and subscribe and all that if you'd like, but it's free to watch. There's a chat room. It's the only time I'm going to encourage you to chat during a movie because there's a conversation happening as it's going, and it's been fun. You know, I've made some friends there, and you know, it's a good time. And I don't know if I've gotten people who just watch the stream who have come over to listen to the podcast or vice versa, but you know, it all kind of becomes this community, this Monster Kid Radio community, or as Kenny calls them, the Monster Kid Radio heads. I'll sometimes call them the Monster Kid Radio irregulars, but it's this community that's kind of come together, just loving this stuff and having a good time. So that's on Twitch. If you want to be part of that, like I said, come on by. It's completely free. And there's always a good time happening in the chat room. So that's what I do on Twitch. That's the stream. As far as the podcast goes, it used to come out every Thursday ish. It still comes out around then. I am still, and I don't know how much longer I can use this as an excuse because I've been working there for, oh gosh, at least 7, 8, 9 months now at this point. But ever since I got the day job, my scheduling of the podcast changed a little bit, and sometimes it's not out exactly the day that I want it to be, but I'm working on it. So monsterkidradio.net, you can go check that out. That's where everything is there. You know, I guess the best place to find everything that I'm doing is just to go to my link tree. Are you familiar with Linktree?
Oh yeah.
So I thought I'd be clever by putting a link tree up with my name, except my last name is spelled Koch and it's pronounced Cook. So it's always kind of,
Yeah.
So I thought I was clever, but not quite. But if you go to Linktree and just look up my name, Derek M. Cook, DEREKMKOCH, you'll find links to, you know, the Monster Kid Radio stuff, my book Monster Hunter for Hire, my writing stuff, my Dice Monster Dice, which is my role-playing game stuff. Everything's there over on my link tree. I may set up a different link tree with an easier to remember
Right.
part, but in the meantime, you just look up my name on Linktree and you can find it there.
That'll work. And I'll make sure to throw up your Linktree link in show notes when we post this. That's a lot, man. You do a lot. How much, you know, you got your Saturday stream, Tuesday stream, episode comes out usually Thursdays.
Yeah.
How do you find time to prep all this?
Oh man. So my day job has me working from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and then on Saturday as well. So a lot of times I will try to sneak a recording in for Monster Kid Radio, have a guest come on, and I'll set up to record with them like right after I get off work. I work from home, so I can just get off my work computer, slide over to my personal computer, fire up Skype or whatever, and get somebody on, and I'll try to record with them. It's, you know, it's a balance because I've got all that going on. I'm writing a couple of books right now and some short stories. I've got the documentary happening, so it's a balance. Fortunately, I've surrounded myself with a lot of really supportive people. My girlfriend, who I'm deeply in love with, Beth, is amazing. Matt has been super supportive with a lot of things. Scott and Kenny and Mark and everybody else contributes to everything. I've surrounded myself with a really solid group of people. And I don't know if I could pull off everything that I do if not for them. So yeah, you know, maybe that's the key is find a bunch of like-minded folks, whether they're virtual and you can't hang out with them in person like Mark or Kenny, or like Chris McMillan I met with last night at Conan, or my girlfriend Beth or whatever in person. Just find people that like you enough to help you succeed, I guess, is what I've managed to do.
That definitely helps, especially that strong woman. That's probably the ultimate.
Oh, Beth is amazing, dude. I could, yeah, I don't know how I managed to find her, and she's pretty damn special.
It sounds like she's really supportive. Like my fiance is so supportive of everything I try to
isn't that the
do, so
best?
it helps, man.
Yeah, and Beth is totally. I mean, she designs haunted houses. You know, she's
Oh, that's awesome.
and she gets paid for it. I mean, she gets paid to produce.
She sounds
haunted
cooler.
houses.
She sounds like she's cooler than you, man.
She is.
That's a badass job.
No, I mean, she has a day job or whatever. But come August, September, she gets off work. She's heading over to where the PDX Scareground is set up and starts working on designing that. And that's her dream, is to be able to do that.
That's cool.
So I mean, she's super cool. You know, she got that. She was just in a musical here at the local theater, independent theater company. It's a musical about Dungeons and Dragons. So I mean, yeah, I mean, she's awesome.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But yeah, if it wasn't for people like Beth or Chris or Matt or Mark or Kenny, anybody, and even even though we're not married, I'm still friends with her. My ex-wife Brenda, who has been involved with my podcasting over the years, she's on Mail Order Zombie. She's on a lot of episodes of Monster Kid Radio. She was very supportive as well. So,
right on. So, besides telling people to come join the stream and listen to the show, to Monster Kid Radio, and putting a good support system around you, any tips you give to anybody listening that might want to start a podcast someday?
So I think I kind of mentioned it earlier. I really think there's a lot to be learned from listening to podcasts outside of what you would consider your genre. I produce Monster Kid Radio, so I listen to podcasts that have to do with classic monsters. Record All Monsters is fantastic. I listen to a lot of movie podcasts, diecast movie podcasts, things like that. I'm sure there's a bunch that I'm forgetting right now that, please, if you produce that podcast that I listen, don't take offense that I forget who you are. But I also try to listen to a bunch of other podcasts outside of my genre, whether it's news podcasts or, I listen to some writing podcasts. And I guess technically that's my genre because I'm a writer as well. But some history podcasts. Listen to podcasts outside of what you normally listen to, because they may be doing something that's normal for them, but totally not what you're into. And you can learn some tricks from them. One thing that I do on my show, I use a piece of software now, a filter, to kind of make my audio sound better. It saves me so much more time, and I would not have thought of even trying it if not for hearing about it on a writing podcast. And it's fantastic, and I feel like it makes the show better. Nobody's complained, and it saves me time, and it may even open up an income stream for me down the line because it's a piece of transcription software. And I wouldn't have even thought of trying to apply that to what I do on Monster Kid Radio if I didn't hear about it on a writing show. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice. That, and just do it. Yeah. Don't do what I did at the beginning. It was like, well, I want to do a horror podcast, but there are too many. Don't let that hold you back, because even if there are 1,000 different podcasts and what you want to talk about, none of them have you on them. Yeah. And your voice is entirely 100% you. Nobody else has your voice and has your point of view. Might be some similar points of view, but nobody has you as the podcaster. So don't let that hold you back. If you want to do a horror movie podcast, do it. If you want to make a zombie movie podcast, if you want to make a classic monster movie podcast, do it, because nobody has your voice and your point of view.
Exactly. That's why I always say, do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
If people are entertained by it, great, but do it for yourself, particularly.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, that's how I drive Monster Kid Radio. I talk about the stuff that I want to talk about, and I do the things that I want to do, and it entertains me, and I got people listening, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But whether I had 10 listeners, 20 listeners, whether I won the Monster Kid Hall of Fame award, or whether I'm never on the ballot, it doesn't matter. I'm doing it for me, and I'm having a really good time doing it. Everything else, I think the love for it is infectious, and you'll draw like-minded people to you that way.
Exactly. Well, hey, Derek, I thank you. It's been cool actually finally getting to catch up and chat with you a little bit.
We've been talking about this forever.
Forever. Listeners, check out Monster Kid Radio and his Linktree. You said you have Linktree, right? There's like 80 different
Yeah,
those setups, but Linktree. Okay,
is the Linktree. Yeah, under my name.
his
And
link will be in the show notes. So
let's have you come on Monster Kid Radio. You interested? You want to be a guest?
yeah, I'd love to come on sometime.
Let's find a movie to talk about. Just find a movie that you like, and we'll talk about it. And we'll chat it up and have a good time.
We'll start planning it, and it'll take us a year and a half to get it together, but we'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I figure if we say it now publicly on your show, it puts a little extra pressure on us to actually. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right
on.
on.
Will it into existence. You know, so that's how Oprah does it, right? It's kind of the secret or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
So we're like Oprah without all the money.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Right on. Cool, man. Well, hey, I'd love to have some of that Oprah money, though.
Oh yeah.
My show would be awesome.
Yeah, I'd still be podcasting. I'd still be podcasting. Yeah.
That's it. That's all I'd be doing.
Just from a much nicer studio.
Yeah, for sure. Not my little office in my tiny 2-bedroom overpriced apartment.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all good though. We have fun. We have fun. That's the most important part. We have a good time.
It's a lot of fun. So.
But Derek M. Koch, thanks for coming in. Everybody go check out the show. And that's it. See you later.
All right. Thanks, man.
Hey there, everybody. My name's Cortland.
And I'm Brandon.
And this is the Up All Night Horror Anthology Podcast, where we cover every horror anthology show that we can get our hands on.
We've already reviewed all of Are You Afraid of the Dark? We've set our sights on Goosebumps next.
Do you love to laugh at amazing 90s Canadian horror shows?
Then we've got the perfect podcast for you.
So join us every Tuesday for new episodes to keep you up all night.
Hey, everybody, this is Danny Roebuck. Come on, you know my face is familiar. I'm sure my voice is familiar, too. You are listening to the Steve and Crypto Show, and that means that you have good taste, almost as good a taste as I have.
All right, we are back. Thank you, Derek Koch, for hanging out. You guys, make sure to listen to Monster Kid Radio. It's a great show, especially if you're into classic horror and monster movies and kaiju films and all that stuff. So check that out. You kind of hear his story and how he got started, and maybe down the road you might hear us on his show. So do that. And I guess before we wrap this week's episode up, we should probably get our trivia in so we could give somebody a prize. So make sure you guys, Crypto's going to ask you a trivia question. You're going to message one of us with the answer, and then we're going to get your address and mail you some stuff, and your name's going to go on a list so we can maybe mail you some other stuff. So what you got for us?
That's right. So listen closely. We want you to get this. I want you to send me the answer. We're just waiting.
Not to interrupt, before, you could answer some of the past trivia questions too. Just be like, hey, I just listened to episode 82, and the answer to that trivia is so-and-so. That'll work too.
Yes, you sure
can.
We
just want to give you guys stuff.
Yeah.
But we're not just going to give it to you. You got to kind of work for it a little bit.
I'm staring at a mountain that's taller than both of us of just stickers and all kinds of goodies. Mountain. All kinds of goodies just waiting to come to your house.
Just don't be thinking I'm going to send them none of my, like, Frankenstein collection.
I'm just looking at all of Steve's toys in here.
Yeah, which ones am I going to give away? None of them. Okay, trivia.
All right. So this week's trivia is, what 2011 film, and this is somebody we talk about quite a bit, I'll say, what 2011 film was the first horror movie directed by Kevin Smith? Because he has made more than one.
Yeah, it's true. Wow. So do you guys know the answer to that? You should.
You might not think that it's a horror movie, but when you
horror thriller.
When the title first comes to your mind, you're like, that's not a horror flick, and then you start thinking a little bit more about what actually happened in the movie. Yeah, it could be seen as horror.
Yeah. I feel it leans toward thriller, but
yeah,
there's a lot of horrible stuff in it.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the question. What's that question one more time?
What 2011 film was the first horror movie directed by Kevin Smith?
Right. So, okay, you guys, we are going to close this episode. We're going to remind you, go to buymeacoffee.com/SteveCrypto, patreon.com/SteveCrypto. What's the Etsy?
Etsy.shop/Steve and merch. T-shirts, coffee mugs, magnets galore.
And social media, he's CryptoZoo88. I'm the Steve Strout.
Be sure to contact us on either one of those for the trivia, as we just listed off.
Yeah, that's why I'm rushing through this real quick so they
Mhm.
can hurry up before they forget the answer and get over there and tell us the trivia thing.
Yeah.
So, that being said, next week, we will have a conversation, which I was kind of teasing on social media, with Danny Roebuck, the actor, with over 250 credits. He's been in just about every Rob Zombie movie, some of his videos.
He was in The Fugitive.
The Fugitive,
He's
yeah.
been in a lot. I mean, I'm telling you, look at his IMDb. You're going to be scrolling for a few minutes.
He's been in a ton of stuff, and on top of that, he's a super horror fan.
Yeah.
He even did a horror host thing for a while. So he's definitely one of us with a cooler job.
We had a great conversation with him. He talked to us for quite a while. And honestly, we probably could have talked to him for another hour. You know, we could honestly have him on again, and we'd have plenty of new stuff to talk about.
Right, for sure. But check it out. Danny Roebuck, he's going to be Grandpa Munster in Rob Zombie's Monsters movie that's coming up. We talked a bunch about that. He talked about basically life and how to not be a shitty person.
Yeah.
And all kinds of stuff. So stay tuned for that. Come back. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, and check that out. Now go and send us the answer to the trivia question. All right. I'm Steve.
I'm Crypto Zoo. We'll catch you on episode 85 with Daniel Roebuck.
Bye, guys.